The woman beside the broken milepost was holding a brass key. Not a purse, not a weapon, a key. And when Silas Reed asked what door it opened, she looked him straight in the eye and whispered, "None that still belongs to me." It was October of 1888, in the Montana Territory, and the first hard storm of the season was crawling over the Bitterroot Mountains. Silas had been riding since dawn. 3 days earlier, he had delivered a string of saddle horses to a buyer near Deer Lodge. The money in his coat pocket should have made him feel lighter. Instead, every mile home seemed to press the old silence deeper into him. For 8 years, Silas had lived alone at Red Willow Ranch. He owned 160 acres of rough pasture, a weather-beaten cabin, a leaning barn, 27 horses, and more empty chairs than he cared to count. Once the place had belonged to his father. Then it had belonged to Silas and his younger brother Tom. After Tom was killed beneath a runaway freight wagon, it had belonged to no one but Silas and the wind. He had learned to mend fence without help, eat supper without conversation, and sleep through winter nights with only the stove ticking in the dark. Loneliness had not made him cruel, but it had made him careful. So when his bay gelding shied near Red Willow Crossing, Silas reached for the revolver under his coat before he saw the woman. She sat beneath a splintered road sign, one hand wrapped around the handle of a small leather valise. Her brown shawl was soaked at the shoulders. Mud covered the hem of her faded burgundy dress. A loose strand of chestnut hair clung to her cheek, and beside her boots lay a broken wagon trace. The freight wagon that had carried her was already gone. Its tracks disappeared north beneath the darkening sky. Silas stayed in the saddle. "Mom," he called, "are you hurt?" She lifted her head. Her face was pale from cold, but her eyes were steady. "No, sir. Did the driver leave you?" "He said the axle would not hold my weight in the cargo." Silas glanced at the abandoned trace. "That wagon was carrying iron stove parts." "Yes." A hard little truth sat between them. The driver had not left her because of the axle. He had left her because the storm was coming, and a woman traveling alone was trouble he did not want. Silas dismounted slowly. "What's your name?" "Clara Vale." "Where are you headed, Miss Vale?" She opened her mouth, but no answer came. Then Silas noticed the brass key in her palm. It was old, long-shafted, and dark around the teeth from years of use. "What does that open?" Clara looked down at it. For the first time, her composure broke. "None that still belongs to me." Thunder rolled beyond the ridge. Silas looked west. The storm would reach the crossing within the hour. The nearest settlement was 12 miles away. There were wolves in the foothills, drifters on the road, and a night cold enough to turn wet clothing into a coffin. He could ask more questions. He could tell himself she was not his concern. He could ride on. Instead, he picked up her valise. "There's a spare horse tied behind mine." Clara did not move. Silas saw the fear in her then, not fear of the storm, fear of choosing the wrong man because the night had left her no good choices. He set the valise down again and stepped back. "My ranch is 6 miles east. You can sleep in the cabin. I'll take the bunkhouse." She studied him carefully. "For how long?" "Until the road dries. And after that?" Silas looked toward the empty prairie. "After that, we'll figure out the next mile." Clara closed her fingers around the key. Then she nodded. They rode through the storm beneath a sky split by white fire. Silas kept his horse a length ahead so Clara would never feel crowded. Twice he looked back and found her still upright, soaked through, gripping the saddle horn with both hands. Near midnight, a weak amber light appeared in the distance. It came from the oil lamp Silas had forgotten to extinguish beside the kitchen window. Clara stared at it through the rain. Silas had always thought of that lamp as a waste of kerosene. That night it looked like something else. It looked like a promise. The cabin was plain. 1 table, 2 chairs, a cast-iron stove, a narrow bedroom behind a curtain, a shelf of chipped dishes, a framed photograph of 2 young men standing beside a half-built barn. Clara noticed the photograph, but she asked no questions. Silas built the fire higher, found one of his brother's old wool shirts and left it folded outside the bedroom curtain. "You'll catch fever in those wet clothes," he said. "There's coffee on the stove, bread in the tin. I'll be in the bunkhouse." Clara looked at the second chair across from the table. "You don't have to leave your own home." Silas pulled on his hat. "I know." He stepped into the rain before she could answer. By morning the storm had passed. Silas returned to find the cabin changed in small ways that made him stop in the doorway. The wet shawl hung near the stove. Coffee was hot. A pan of biscuits sat on the table. His scattered bills had been stacked into a neat pile, and the loose hinge on the flour cupboard had been tightened with a strip of leather. Clara stood at the stove, wearing her dried dress. "I used some of the lard," she said. "I can replace it when I find work." Silas took off his hat. "You fixed the cupboard." It was complaining. He almost smiled. That was the first morning in 8 years when breakfast did not sound like a fork scraping against an empty room. Clara told him only pieces of her story. Her father, Henry Vale, had operated a small relay station and post office west of Helena. Stage drivers changed horses there. Settlers collected letters. Freight agents left receipts and government notices in his care. When fever took him the previous spring, Clara expected to inherit the station, the adjoining pasture, and the house where she had been raised. Instead, a land agent named Amos Vane arrived with a debt note bearing Henry Vale's signature. The note claimed her father had borrowed $800 against the property. Clara knew nothing of it. But the witnesses were men who worked for Vane's cattle company, and the county clerk said the paper appeared valid. Within 10 days, Clara was locked out of her own home. She kept only the clothes she could carry, a small valise, and the brass key to her father's irons dispatch box. "Was the box in the house?" Silas asked. "In the post room. But Vane's men searched the place before they put me out." "Did they find it?" "I don't know. Did your father ever mention the debt?" "Never." Silas leaned back in his chair. $800 was more than a relay station earned in years. Then the paper was false. Clara's expression did not change. False papers still open real doors when the right men hold them. That line stayed with Silas. The road remained washed out for 4 days. On the 5th morning, Clara packed her valise. Silas found her beside the hitching rail before sunrise. "Where are you going?" "To Hamilton. Someone there may need a seamstress. You know how to keep books. My father taught me. You know horses? I grew up changing teams for stage drivers. You know how to cook?" Her mouth lifted slightly. "You ate 3 biscuits yesterday." Silas looked toward the ranch house. For years he had kept Red Willow's accounts in a cigar box, feed receipts mixed with breeding records. Tax notices were folded into old newspapers. He knew every horse by sight but could not have told a banker exactly what the ranch earned. "I could use a bookkeeper," he said. Clara tightened her grip on the valise. "I won't live on charity. I'm not offering charity." "What are you offering?" $5 a month, room, meals, and a share from any horse sale you help arrange. That is more than a housekeeper earns." "I didn't say housekeeper." Clara studied him. Silas felt suddenly foolish standing there with the dawn behind him and his hat in his hands. Finally she asked, "How long is the position?" He thought of the lamp in the window. "As long as the work is honest." She set the valise back inside. The first weeks were not easy. Kindness did not erase caution. Clara slept with a chair beneath the bedroom latch. Silas never mentioned it. Silas left coins on the table and counted them twice when he returned. Clara noticed and said nothing. They were 2 people who had been disappointed by the world in different ways, trying to build trust without speaking its name. Work did what words could not. Clara rebuilt the ranch ledger from 2 years of receipts, which she discovered Silas was paying too much for winter oats and too little attention to breeding fees owed by 3 neighboring ranchers. She wrote polite letters. 2 men paid within a week. The third arrived angry, slammed his hat on the table, and told Silas he would not be ordered about by a woman. Clara placed the signed breeding contract in front of him. "You are not being ordered," she said. "You are being reminded." The man paid before leaving. Silas waited until the rider vanished down the road. Then he laughed so hard he had to sit on the fence rail. It was the first time Clara heard him laugh. After that, something loosened between them. Silas showed her how to read the weather in the horse's ears. Clara taught him how to total a column without moving his lips. He repaired the heel of her boot. She mended the tear in his winter coat. At supper they began to talk, not about the future. That subject was still too dangerous. They talked about smaller things. The mule at the south pasture that hated red blankets. The stage driver who once delivered a crate of live chickens to the undertaker. The way Tom Reed had sung every hymn half a note too low. The way Henry Vale used to leave the post office lamp burning until the final rider came in from the cold. Even when no one was expected, Silas asked. Especially then, Clara said. He believed a light only mattered when someone needed to see it. The words settled over the table. Silas looked toward the dark window. That night he left the lamp burning. By early November, neighboring families had begun to notice Clara's presence. Some were kind. Mrs. Bell from the East Homestead brought apple preserves and stayed for 2 hours. Others watched Clara with the sharp curiosity reserved for any unmarried woman living under an unmarried man's roof. Clara heard the whispers at the supply store. Silas heard them at the livery. Neither spoke of them until a rancher named Dobbs made a crude remark outside the feed mill. Silas hit him once, only once. Dobbs landed in a water trough. When Silas returned home with split knuckles, Clara cleaned the blood from his hand. "You should not fight because people talk," she said. "He wasn't talking. What was he doing? Being wrong?" Loudly. Clara tried not to smile, then she wrapped the bandage tighter than necessary. "You cannot solve every insult with your fist." "No. Good. Some men need the trough." She laughed despite herself. The sound filled the kitchen. Silas looked at her and forgot the pain in his hand. Winter arrived in the second week of November. Snow closed the high roads and turned Red Willow Ranch into a white island. Clara proved stronger than Silas expected. She hauled water when the pump froze. She sat through a foal's difficult birth, with her sleeves rolled above the elbow. She learned to shoot a rifle from the porch, though she hated the recoil. And when 3 children from the Bell homestead became trapped at Red Willow during a blizzard, she kept them calm by turning the bunkhouse into a classroom. She wrote letters on a slate. She taught them sums using horseshoe nails. She read aloud from a worn book of poems while the storm buried the fence posts. After the roads opened, the children begged to return. Soon there were 7 students, then 11. Every Tuesday and Friday the bunkhouse filled with farm children, ranch hands' daughters, and one shy boy whose father believed books made men weak. Clara taught him anyway. Silas built benches from old pine boards. He pretended he did it because children were scratching the walls. Clara knew better. By Christmas, Red Willow was no longer a silent ranch. There were boots by the door, chalk marks on the bunkhouse wall, a pie cooling near the window, a second cup beside Silas's plate, and an oil lamp burning after dark. Then Amos Vane rode in. He arrived with 2 men wearing long black coats and company badges. Vane was not large, but he carried himself like a man accustomed to having rooms make space for him. His gloves were clean. His boots had never touched honest mud. Clara saw him through the window and went still. The cup slipped from her hand. It struck the floor but did not break. Silas rose from the table. "That him?" She nodded. Vane entered without waiting to be invited. His gaze traveled from Clara to the ledger, then to the brass key hanging on a cord at her neck. "There you are," he said. Clara's face became calm in the way ice becomes calm before it cracks. "What do you want?" Vane smiled at Silas. "Miss Vale removed company property when she left the relay station. The clothes in that valise belong to me," Clara said. "I'm not speaking of clothes." His eyes returned to the key. Silas stepped between them. "You've said enough." Vane's smile thinned. "You are Silas Reed." "That's right. You hold a water claim along Red Willow Creek." Silas felt the room change. "What does that have to do with her?" "More than you understand." Vane removed a folded notice from his coat and placed it on the table. The Bitter Creek Cattle Company had filed a superior claim to divert water from the upper branch of Red Willow Creek. If approved, Silas's pastures would lose most of their spring flow. Without that creek, his horses would have no reliable water after June. The ranch would not survive a single dry summer. Clara read the notice twice. At the bottom was Amos Vane's name. "You took my father's station for this," she said. Vane's eyes hardened. "Your father kept records that did not concern him. He was the postmaster. He was a stubborn old man who confused paper with power." Clara touched the key. Vane noticed. "Give me what you took," he said, "and I may persuade the company to reconsider the boundary near Mr. Reed's lower pasture." Silas moved closer. "Get out." Vane did not look at him. "This woman brings ruin wherever she goes. Her father lost his property. You will lose yours." Silas opened the door. Cold wind swept into the cabin, "Then we'll be ruined with clean hands." For the first time, Vane's expression lost its polish. He walked out but stopped on the porch. "The creek filing closes in 30 days, he said. "After that, no old receipt, no witness, and no frontier bedtime story will change it." His men followed him into the snow. Clara stood at the table, staring at the notice. Silas picked up the unbroken cup from the floor. "What records was he talking about?" "I don't know." "He believes you have them. I have a key to a box that may be empty." Silas looked toward the frozen ridge. "Then we find out." The old Vale relay station stood more than 70 miles west beyond a mountain road already buried in snow. Traveling there in December was reckless. Waiting until spring meant losing the water claim. Silas planned the journey anyway. Clara refused to let him go alone. They left Red Willow before dawn with 2 saddle horses, a pack mule, blankets, rope, hard bread, dried meat, and a shovel. For 2 days the trail remained passable. On the 3rd, wind erased it. They crossed pine country beneath branches bent with snow. They slept one night in an abandoned line shack with ice on the inside walls. The next morning, Clara woke to find Silas feeding the last dry apple to her horse. "You need it more than she does," Clara said. "She disagrees. You always give away the best part?" "Only when someone is watching." By afternoon, the sky vanished behind blowing white. They should have turned back. Instead, Clara led them toward a narrow cut between 2 ridges. "My father used this route when the main road flooded," she shouted over the wind. "You remember it? I remember every mile that took me home." That word struck them both. Home. Neither spoke again until the relay station appeared through the snow. The place had been gutted. The stable doors hung open. Windows were smashed. The postroom shelves had been torn from the walls. Vane's men had searched everything. Clara stood in the doorway of the house where she had been born. For months she had imagined returning. In those imaginings she was angry. Instead she felt hollow. Silas found an overturned chair, set it upright, and waited. He did not tell her not to cry. He did not say the place was only wood. He understood better than that. After a long time, Clara walked to the post room. The dispatch box was bolted beneath the sorting table. The table was gone. They dug through broken boards until they found 4 empty bolt holes in the floor. No box. Silas searched the stable. Clara searched the kitchen. They found old mail sacks, scorched papers, and a photograph torn down the middle. Nothing else. As darkness filled the rooms, Clara sank onto the floor. "He found it." "We don't know that. He found it, Silas. We keep looking. For what? A box they tore out months ago?" Her voice broke. "All this way. And I brought you to an empty house." Silas crouched beside her. "You didn't bring me." "Yes, I did. Vane came because of me. Your water is threatened because of me. Your ranch, my ranch was threatened because a thief wants it. But he found me through you." Silas stared at her. Then he took the folded water notice from his coat and fed one corner into the small fire. Clara grabbed his wrist. "What are you doing?" "Showing you what paper is worth without people willing to stand behind it. That notice is evidence." He pulled it back before the flame spread. "Exactly." For a moment neither spoke. Then a loose shutter banged in the wind, once, twice, 3 times. Clara looked toward the sound. The shutter belonged to the old post-room window. Her father had repaired it the year before he died, but it had always struck the wall during storms. He used to joke that the station itself was knocking. Clara stood slowly. "Silas, help me move the stove." The cast-iron stove was rusted and half collapsed, but together they dragged it away from the wall. Behind it, one floorboard was shorter than the others. Clara dropped to her knees and pried it up with the shovel blade. Beneath the board lay a narrow cavity lined with tin. Inside was the iron dispatch box. Clara's hands shook so badly she could barely lift the key. It entered the lock. For one terrible second, it would not turn. Then the mechanism gave with a deep metallic click. Inside were bundles wrapped in oilcloth, postal receipts, survey copies, letters from homesteaders, tax notices, a sealed report addressed to the Territorial Land Office, and a ledger in Henry Vale's handwriting. Clara opened it near the final pages. Her father had documented months of missing government notices and altered delivery dates. He had recorded that Vane's company intercepted claim letters, then purchased properties after settlers appeared to miss filing deadlines. But the most important item was a certified survey receipt for Red Willow Creek. It showed that the upper diversion Vane claimed as new had been rejected 6 years earlier because it would violate existing downstream rights, including the Reed Ranch. Silas read the line twice. "This could stop him, if the seal is accepted. And if we reach Helena before the filing closes." Clara looked at the blowing snow outside. They had 12 days. The return journey should have taken 4. It took 7. On the 2nd day, the pack mule broke through river ice. Silas cut the load loose and pulled Clara back before the current took her. One bundle of records vanished beneath the black water. The survey receipt remained inside Clara's coat. On the 4th night, Silas developed a fever after spending hours in wet clothes. They sheltered in a trapper's cabin while the wind shook snow through the roof. Clara kept him awake by reading names from her father's ledger. Every name belonged to someone Vane had cheated. A widow with 3 sons. A German farmer who lost 80 acres. 2 brothers who had built a sawmill. a black Civil War veteran named Isaiah Cole who had filed for a homestead and never received notice that his application required one additional witness. Silas listened through the fever. "This is bigger than your house," he whispered. Clara looked at the pages. For months she had believed Vane stole one life. Now she understood he had built his fortune from many. By dawn, Silas could stand. They rode on. When Red Willow Ranch finally appeared below the ridge, Clara expected relief. Instead, she saw smoke. The barn roof was burning. Neighbors formed a line from the well, passing buckets through the snow. Silas leaped from the saddle before the horse stopped. The fire had started in the hayloft. By the time they controlled it, half the roof was gone and 6 tons of winter hay had burned. 27 horses survived, but without the hay the ranch could not feed them until spring. On the charred barn door someone had nailed a strip of paper. "Leave the dead buried." Clara pulled it down. Silas's face was black with soot. He looked older than he had that morning. Mrs. Bell said 2 riders had been seen near the upper creek. No one could identify them. No one needed to. That night the ranch kitchen filled with neighbors. Some urged Silas to sell the horses before they starved. Others said he should take Vane's bargain and surrender the records. A rancher named Hal Mercer put the truth into plain words. "You can save the ranch," he said, "or chase justice for people you never met. You may not be able to do both." Silas said nothing. After everyone left, Clara packed her valise. He found it beside the door again, just as he had on the 5th morning after the storm. "This time I know where I'm going," she said. "Where?" "To Helena." "Alone?" "No. You have horses to save." I said no. "Silas, listen to me. Vane burned your hay because I came here. He burned my hay because fear is the only argument he has left. You cannot lose everything for me." Silas looked around the cabin, the repaired cupboard, the organized ledgers, the second chair, the children's slates stacked near the stove, the lamp in the window. "You still think this is for you?" Clara's eyes filled. "Isn't it?" "No." He stepped closer. "The night I found you, I thought I was giving you shelter." His voice lowered. "But you walked into a house that had been empty for 8 years, and you made it a home before I understood the difference." Clara looked away. Silas continued. "Vane didn't bring ruin here. He came because there was something here worth taking." The room went quiet. Then Clara removed the brass key from her neck. She placed it in his hand. "My father used to say a key is a promise that somewhere a door is waiting." Silas closed her fingers around it again. "Then keep it." "Why?" "Because we're not finished opening doors." At sunrise, the first wagon arrived from the Bell homestead carrying hay. Then came another from the Mercers. Then 2 more from families whose children Clara had taught. By noon, 13 wagons stood in the yard. No one had enough hay to spare. Together they had enough. Mrs. Bell placed a covered basket on the table. "For the road," she said. Hal Mercer handed Silas a fresh horse. "You'll kill that bay if you push him to Helena." The shy boy from Clara's class gave her 3 horseshoe nails wrapped in cloth. "For counting," he said. Clara knelt and hugged him. Silas looked at the wagons, the hay, the neighbors, and the children. One act of kindness had not returned as one favor. It had returned as a valley. Silas and Clara left for Helena with Hal Mercer and Isaiah Cole, whose name Clara had found in the ledger. Isaiah had traveled through the night after hearing the records were recovered. He carried his original homestead receipt inside a Bible. Along the road, others joined them. The widow with 3 sons, one of the Sawmill brothers, a farmer who had spent 6 years renting the land he once claimed. By the time they reached the Territorial Land Office, 14 people stood behind Clara. Amos Vane was already there. He had arrived with an attorney, 2 company witnesses, and the confidence of a man who believed distance would keep his victims apart. He looked at the crowd and understood at once what the ledger had done. It had turned isolated losses into a pattern. The examiner opened Henry Vale's sealed report. He compared the signatures. He examined the altered dates. He matched receipts to missing notices. Then Clara placed the certified Red Willow survey on the desk. The room became very still. Vane's attorney objected. The examiner ignored him. For 3 hours papers moved across the table. No one shouted. No pistol was drawn. The frontier had seen enough men try to make truth at gunpoint. This time, truth arrived in ink, memory, and 14 people willing to say the same thief had visited each of their doors. At sunset, the examiner suspended Bitter Creek Cattle Company's water filing. He ordered the disputed properties reviewed. He referred the altered postal notices and forged witnesses to the territorial marshal. Vane stood rigid beside the desk. "This proves nothing," he said. Isaiah Cole opened his Bible and removed his receipt. "It proves you counted on us standing alone." Vane looked toward Clara. She held the brass key in one hand, not as evidence, as a reminder. "You were wrong," she said. "We found one another. The official seal struck the suspension order. That sound ended Vane's claim to Red Willow Creek. It did not restore every stolen year. It did not rebuild every house. It did not erase grief, but it stopped the theft from becoming permanent. Over the next 6 months, 3 properties were returned. 5 families received compensation. Isaiah Cole's homestead claim was reopened and approved. The Vale relay station, damaged beyond practical repair, was restored to Clara on paper. She sold the land to the Territorial Postal Service for a fair price with one condition. A lamp would remain in the station window whenever riders were expected after dark. When the money arrived, Clara placed the bank draft beside Silas's ledger. "This covers the barn roof," she said. Silas shook his head. "The barn is mine. The fire was meant for both of us. Then keep half. For what?" He glanced through the window toward the bunkhouse where children were crowded around a slate. A school. By summer, they built one at the edge of Red Willow Ranch. It had a bell above the door, 6 windows, a blackboard shipped from St. Louis, and a shelf for every book Clara could find. Silas made the desks. None of them matched. Clara said that made them honest. She taught 12 children in the first term. By the second, there were 23. The ranch changed too. With proper records, careful breeding, and contracts Clara wrote herself, Red Willow's horse business grew. Within 4 years, Silas had paid off the last note on the property. Within 7, the ranch supplied remounts to stage lines and working stock to farms across western Montana. But the proof of what they built was not measured only in horses or dollars. It was measured in ordinary evenings, in boots beside the door, in school books drying near the stove, in neighbors stopping without knocking, in a table where no chair stayed empty for long. Silas waited until the following spring to ask Clara to marry him. He had planned a speech. He practiced it twice in the barn. Both times the mare in the end stall walked away. So one evening, as Clara lit the lamp beside the kitchen window, he placed a small wooden box on the table. Inside was a ring made from a narrow band of gold. Clara looked at him. Silas forgot every word he had prepared. "I can give you my name," he said, "my land, every horse I own. But the truth is, you already gave me the thing I didn't know how to ask for." Clara's eyes shone. "What was that?" "A reason to come home." She looked toward the lamp. Then she took the brass key from around her neck. For years it had opened her father's dispatch box. After that, it had opened the truth. Now she placed it in Silas's palm. "Make it part of the house," she said. He fixed it above the front door. They were married beneath the cottonwoods in June. The schoolchildren scattered wildflowers along the path. Isaiah Cole stood beside Silas. Mrs. Bell cried before the ceremony began and denied it afterward. When Clara reached the place where Silas waited, the wind moved softly through the grass. For one moment, she remembered the broken milepost, the rain, the vanished wagon tracks, the terrible certainty that every road had closed. Then she looked at the ranch, at the schoolhouse, at the neighbors gathered beneath the trees, at the man who had offered her shelter without demanding trust she was not ready to give. Silas looked toward the brass key above the cabin door. A key to a house Clara had lost had become the first piece of a home they built together. That evening, long after the wedding guests had gone, Clara lit the lamp beside the window. Silas stood behind her, one hand resting gently on her shoulder. Across the dark valley, the small light shone where any late traveler could see it. Because sometimes a home does not begin with land, walls, or a name on a deed. Sometimes it begins when one person sees another standing alone in the storm and decides not to ride past. The lamp stayed lit.